Just a little review of yesterday. Find the chalk. He must use an awful lot at night. Okay. Number 3 is a cone. And it says, here's the center of the circle. And it says this is 18 yards and 14 yards. And they want us to find the volume. Now, we found out yesterday that to find the volume of a pyramid or a cone, you have to find the area of the base first. Remember, the capital B is the area of the base times the height. And on a pyramid or a cone, they only have one base. So we divide it by 3 or take it times 1/3. Now on your formula chart, it's probably going to say 1/3 pi r squared h. And the reason for this is that pi r squared is how you find the area of the base, which is a circle. Okay? So you can use either one of these. This just tells you how to find the area of the base of a cone. So what we're going to do here is find the area of the base. All right. Now the area of the base says pi r squared. And I think at the top of this, it says use 3.14 for pi. So we're not going to use the pi button on our calculator this time. Do you need a calculator real quick? Oh, you've got one. The reason I chose this problem here is because they gave you 18 yards, but this is not the radius. You have to be very, very careful what the information that they give you in the problem, because the formula says to use the radius, okay? And the radius is described as only the center to the outside, so it's only half of this diameter. And so when we use this formula right here, it's going to be 9 for the radius, not 18. So 9 squared times 3.14. Pi r squared. And then we know we have to take that times 1/3. And we have to take it times the height. But again, be very, very, very careful, because 14 is not our height. 14 is not the height. The height has to be perpendicular to the base. So our height is actually right here. And we don't know the length of this height. We have no idea. So we have to take a side trip here to find out what our height is equal to. The way you're going to do that is, if you'll notice here, we have a right triangle. We have a right triangle. So let's pull that out so it looks easier. Here's the right triangle we're talking about. This is perpendicular to the base. And this slant height is the same as that slant height. So this is 14. From the center over is the radius. So this is 9. And we found out that if we're working with a right triangle, we can use Pythagorean theorem to find the missing side. We're going to call it H so we remember what we're doing. And okay, Pythagorean theorem, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And you remember when you use Pythagorean theorem, the C will always be the longest side. Am I in your way?
No, you got
Okay. C has to be the longest side, which is this, the hypotenuse. So we have 14 squared equals, and I'm going to call this B. This can be B. This can be A. I'm just telling you what place to put these in the equation. So I have 9 squared here and H squared, because this is what we want to know. So using this formula in our side trip, we're doing this so that we can find the height. So I have H squared plus 81 equals 256, something like that. 196, I bet. $196. And then, of course, we subtract our 81. So we're going to have 115 equals H squared. And when we take the square root of both sides here, the square root of 115, we get 10.7238. Okay, so 10.74, I think we will round it. 10.74 is our height. So over here in our formula, now that we found out what the height is, we just put that here. Now to find the volume, all you have to do is this work. If you want to do it by hand, that's fine. We have 1/3 times 3.14 times 9 squared is 81 times 10.74. Has anybody done that yet? Okay, 3.14 times 81 times 10.74. 910. Yes, and it will be yards cubed. Now, there are several things I want to tell you about this problem to remind you. Of course, we did this yesterday, so if you fell behind a little bit, just understand that yesterday's video will explain it better. There are several things I want to point out here. Number one was, of course, the volume for a cone. It says find the area of the base and then take it times the height. The second thing I want you to know is that the height has to be perpendicular to the base. Don't fall in this trap. This is called a slant height. This is the height. This is the radius, which is the third thing I needed to tell you about this problem. They may give you the diameter, but they're asking for the radius. Be very careful not to use 18 here because that is not the radius. And then the fourth thing that I wanted to bring out in this problem is we didn't even know the height. But if you look for a right triangle, we can take a side trip over here, use Pythagorean theorem to find the height. And then the rest is icing on the cake. You just plug everything into the formula. Oh, the fifth or sixth thing, I lost track. Here on the GED test, you may find out that one of the choices is 910.57 or 910.49. Okay, it'll be just super close. And the reason that will still be your correct answer. They won't try to trick you. But if you're a little off in here, it will be because when you use Pythagorean theorem, this was finding the square root of the 115 was a long decimal. And if we round this to a shorter decimal, the rounding of this will cause a difference in the calculation, just a little bit different. So if this isn't the actual answer, let's look on the back here. What was the actual answer on this one? Oh, okay. This one, the actual answer that was given here, because when they took the square root of 115, they used all of the decimal places in the calculation instead of rounding. If you use all of the decimals, then the answer that came out here is 909.16. They're not going to confuse you on the GED test. They're not going to say, they're not going to put this answer and this answer to mess you up. It will be the answer that's closest to this, okay? So as long as you know what you're doing when you're finding the volume, the answer may be a little off depending on what you rounded during the process. Everybody okay? All right. We're going to move on today to spheres, and we're going to find the volume of spheres. Now check me, Lorenzo, on the formula chart, but I think the volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. This is the volume formula for finding volume of a sphere. Now, a sphere, I think of that shape as maybe a basketball, any kind of ball shape, the globe. And so let's do this. This is if I sliced it in here, then the slice would be this circle in here. And so they will show you, let's do a radius, and let's make it 5 inches. So this isn't a basketball, it's probably, well, 5 inches. Soccer ball maybe. Okay. And we need to find the volume of this sphere. Randy got shut out. Did you get shut out? All right. What happened?
Me?
Just lost connection.
No, my computer died and I can't find the charger for it.
Oh no.
Yeah. Okay.
There we are. Good. We're finding the volume of a sphere right now. It won't be much longer.
Okay.
Just going to explain, this is the formula. If you look on the volume and find sphere, this is what a sphere looks like a basketball or whatever. Okay, so all we're going to do is follow the formula and we say volume equals 4/3, that's a part of the problem, times, and again, the instructions say use 3.14, And again, like I always say, if they do not tell you to use 3.14 for pi, then I want you to use your pi button on your calculator. It's more exact. And then times, we're going to look and make sure what they gave us was the radius. And sure enough, it was. The radius just goes from the center to the outside. And so in place of the radius, we're going to put 5, but it's cubed. Okay, that means 5 times 5 times 5. Now, since all of this is multiply, you can put the whole thing in your calculator if you're careful. If you're doing this by hand, you need to do the exponent first and get an answer to that. And that's going to be 125 times 3.14 times 4/3. And then working that in your calculator. Did you already do it? What did you get?
523.33.
523?
Yeah.
So he got 523.33. How close is that to the back?
You're on number 9, right?
Oh, no, I made it up. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yeah.
Let me do this one. I apologize. I'm just going to check the answer to make sure. You're exactly right. Good job. Okay, so understanding just what a sphere is, that's all you need to know. Make sure if they're asking you to find surface area or volume or what do they want to know, pick out the correct formula off your formula chart. You don't have to memorize these. And then be sure that you're putting the radius in the problem and not a diameter, okay? And only use 3.14 if they tell you to do that in the instructions. Any questions, Brandy? This wasn't a worksheet problem. I just made this one up. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is find the volume of a hemisphere. Now, hemisphere means part of the sphere. Like we chopped it in half, and I only want the volume of the bowl part. See how it looks like a bowl right here? Okay, and we only want the volume, this is called a hemisphere. And all you have to do in this case making it up again, all you have to do is pretend in the beginning that it is a full sphere. You will find the volume of a full sphere and then divide that answer by 2. That's all you're going to have to do. So let's do this one. So we're going to find the volume of the sphere, 4/3 times 3.14 times, and this again is the radius, 3 squared. And I would suggest, cubed, sorry. I would suggest to you that you would go ahead and say, then I'm going to divide the answer by 2. The reason I'm telling you to do this immediately is because after you do all this work, you're going to think you're finished and you're going to forget to divide by 2. So if it's a hemisphere, write the volume down, but put divided by 2 before you start working so you don't mess up and forget the divide by 2. Everybody good with that? All right. So I'm thinking that 6. Let's see if we get the same answer, okay? 36. Okay,
60, 56, 52.
we did great. So if we do all of this calculation, we should have that the volume of the hemisphere, now we divided it by 2, the volume is 56.52 feet. And since it's volume, it'll be feet cubed. Doing okay?
How do I do the third? The 4/3 times 3.14 times 3
Cubed.
cubed.
Oh, you want to know how to do the cubed?
I know how to do the cubed, but it's not going to the third.
Okay, watch this. I'm going to put it on here all the way to the cubed because it's hard for me to punch it and do this, okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to do the 4/3, and you said you're okay with the 4/3, right?
Yes.
Times 3.14 times, now I'm going to put the big 3 there. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I have on the screen so far.
Mm-hmm.
And then to the power of is right here under the pi. Do you see the carrot top?
Mm-hmm.
Push that, and it gives me a little spot up there that I can put the 3 in.
Got it.
Now you still have to scoot over because if you type anything else, then it's going to still put it in that exponent.
And it's divided by 2?
What I would do, because it's kind of tricky sometimes, I would press the enter and get an answer for the top. So I'm pressing enter, and then I would divide by 2. Just to be careful. And the enter, there we go. All right, I would put the whole top in there. Press enter, and then just divide that answer by 2.
Okay.
How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay, and you're okay with putting to the 3rd power now?
Yes.
Okay. So this is it for today. What we're going to do is surface area tomorrow. And it's different formulas, but it's still using your formula chart. So this is a good thing. Okay, as long as you're learning how to look things up and you know where these formulas are, you don't have to memorize those. You just have to know what the letters mean, and you have to know how to plug this in from a picture. Okay? So everybody's ready to hit it again?
Yeah.
All right. And good luck at the doctor today with Brody. And I'm understanding that you'll probably have to spend the rest of the week on Zoom with him at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds good. As long as I know we're doing great.
Okay.
All right. Have a good
All right.
day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.